Okay. Now, teams, please organize your name cards. We don't know who speaker 1, 2, 3, 4. Speaker 1 sits here. On that side, speaker 1 will sit in. Speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3, speaker 4. Tilt your name card so you can see, please. Speaker 1, speaker 2. Tilt this, please. Speaker 3 and speaker 4. We gave the judges an additional 2 minutes because they've been doing this for 2 hours now. They just needed a little bit of time to get water and go to the restroom. You guys get yourselves settled. You have about 2 minutes before we begin. In the interim, I would like for you guys to pass the mic and do a very quick mic check. A quick mic check, and then once you get to the last person, please put your microphone on mute. 1, 2. Turn it on. Everybody has a mic. You have your mic there. Parents, we are waiting on, our judges have been at this for 2 hours. And so we have to give them an opportunity to use the restroom and stretch their legs and get a drink of water. So our judges are now trickling in, taking their seats. While we are waiting, I do want to take a moment to introduce our judges, And we have an awesome group. Sorry, to get the particulars on the judges. We have 5 distinguished judges before us on today. I will start with 3 who are present. Again, the other 2 are on their way. We have Trenisa Wright with over 15 years of experience in education. She holds a bachelor's degree in elementary education from Florida State University and also a master's degree in educational leadership. Shortly thereafter, she began her career as a first-grade teacher in Orlando, Florida. Although a native Floridian, Ms. Wright relocated to the Washington, D.C. area and joined D.C. Public Schools, where she was recognized as a highly effective educator for her first 2 years with the district. Ms. Wright currently serves as a data coach in Prince George's County, Maryland, and also as an adjunct instructor of ESL. Let's put our hands together for Ms. Trenisa Wright. I'm going to double back. I have here to my direct right, Mr. Brett I. Gibbons. He is a school administrator in Washington, D.C. That is no easy feat. 20 years of experience in kindergarten through 12 education. He also holds a Master of Education, Educational Administration, an MA in Organizational Development, and a BA in Public Relations, all from Bowie State University. Prior to becoming a school administrator, he served as a crisis intervention specialist in secondary schools that serve at-risk and special education populations. And he's continuing to work closely and tirelessly with those programs in order to gain them more support and more funding. So he's doing some tremendous work. Let's put our hands together for Brett I. Gibbons. To Mr. Gibbons' right, we have Corey Matthews with us today, who is he's homegrown, he's native Washingtonian, not many of us left, so many transplants. Proudly educated in the DC Public. Oh no, I'm sorry, that was no offense to anybody. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be mindful of things. Okay, so yes, Corey Matthews. He developed an early interest in social issues, government, and politics. In 2010, he graduated from the city's elite Cesar Chavez Public Charter School for Public Policy, where he served as student government president. He subsequently studied criminal justice and law at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, continuing his active role in campus politics and leadership. So proud to have Corey Matthews with us today. We have Michael Antonio Higgs, who is no stranger to us. He actually was with our fall debate as one of our judges. He's also a native of this area. He goes by the name of Antonio Wild in the film industry. He attended Prince George's County Public Schools, did some incredible things there, excellence in script writing, born to perform, and he truly is, creative writing award, and he is studying at the New York Film Academy right now as an aspiring actor. And you can see a lot of his work that's being screened in worldwide film festivals. Put your hands together for Mr. Michael Antonio. Last but certainly not least, we have Christopher Shelton. He also calls the DC area home. He completed his education at Heritage Christian Academy, where he graduated valedictorian. Upon graduation, he was granted acceptance into Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee. He's currently pursuing his bachelor's degree in biology. but his ultimate goal is to acquire a PhD in pharmacology. His present undergraduate research is focused on using stem cells as a model for drug-induced cardiotoxicity and drug screening. His aspiration is to become a pharmacologist specializing in drug design and drug discovery. Let's put our hands together for Christopher. So as I said before, we have a distinguished panel of judges, but I'm excited to say that we also have a distinguished panel of affirmative teams and negative teams with us today, so let's introduce all of them. Speaker one for the affirmative team, please greet with a warm welcome, Jennifer Lynn. Speaker two for the affirmative, put your hands together for Rebecca Sun. Speaker three for the affirmative team, give it up for Jeffrey Chin. And let's meet and greet and welcome Mr. Jerry Shin. Bring in Nancy Leg as speaker four. Moving over to speaker one on our negative team, Laura Jovanova. Please put your hands together. Speaker two, Claire Chin. Speaker three, Eileen Yang. Last but not least, speaker four, Katie Yuen. Please, welcome all of you. Teams, you know how this works. We've only been going over this now for about 5 consecutive weeks. We are going to begin with our introduction, our statements of introduction. Of course, the affirmative team always speaks first. That will be a 2 to 4 minute time constraint on that. Directly after that, we're going to move into our statements of opposition supposition, also a 2 to 4 minute time constraint. Then we will go directly into our crossfire round. Let me tell you folks, it's about to get heated. That much I can guarantee between these last two teams. And that will last 15 minutes. Also, we will have after that our judges curveball teams, just to make sure we're all clear. Each judge will pose one question. They will choose a team, choose a side. That judge will ask that one side a question. There may be some follow-up to the question, so please be expecting that as well. But your team will only get one question, possibly from each judge, okay? And then we will close out with our propositions that also have a 2 to 4 minute time limit. So without further delay, we are going to begin with the dynamic affirmative team. Jennifer Lynn, speaker one, with the introduction. Judges, are you ready? Great.
Freedom, family, rights, reputation, love, pride. All of these are American values, our values. These values will be tarnished if we continue to allow extremists to create panic and destruction, affecting hundreds of thousands of innocent American lives. Freedom. Will we still be free to roam around our country with all these perils of terrorism? Will we, as American citizens, have the freedom we fought for in the Revolutionary War? Family. We will lose and rip apart so many families if we do not take enough precautions to assure the safety of our citizens. For every one person killed, one family is broken. In the 9/11 attacks, 2,966 people were killed. That means at least 2,966 families were torn apart. Love. How many hearts will break if just one life is lost? More than we can do. Rights. How will rights still stand as a more paramount value than safety if terrorism takes place in this sacred country? Reputation. What perspectives will other countries have on America? They will see that we've been blinded by safety issues caused by the burning desire for rights. They will see that we're weak. Pride. These are our values, and as Americans, we will stand by them. This man assures that we are. Nothing. Will we look back on these protests about the executive order banning immigrants and refugees from 7 countries if there is a terrorism attack and be proud? No. Are we considering that our values will result in nothing if we have failed to defend our citizens from people of countries that terrorism threats on this attack more? Once again, no. We must keep our country safe, our children, and their descendants. Yes, we affirm that the executive order is fair. We must put our national security first and the safety of our citizens first. Now, here are some of the hard facts that we cannot ignore. Immigrants as well as refugees from 7 countries on the list may potentially be dangerous to us. There have been many attempted attacks to them have fully succeeded, not to mention all of those that we don't know about. For example, in Columbus, Ohio, November 20, 2016, an ISIS-inspired 20-year-old Somali refugee who had been granted permanent legal residence in 2014 attempted to run over his fellow Ohio State students on campus. After his car was stopped by the barrier, he got out of the vehicle and began hacking people with a butt knife before being shot dead by a campus police officer. He injured 11 people, one critically. ISIS took credit for the attack, describing him as their soldier. In addition, these 7 countries have many members of active terrorist groups such as ISIS. According to multiple sources, including CNN and NBC News, ISIS is predominantly located in Syria and other Gulf countries. Also, as stated by The Guardian, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, and Libya are largely controlled by ISIS. This travel ban is not a Muslim ban. It is not discriminating against any religion or culture. It is simply protecting the citizens of the United States of America. There are many other majority Muslim countries that are not banned. There are 57 Muslim majority countries with over 683 million adherents, and Indonesia, Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh alone. These countries are not on the ban. The governments are stable and have not posed any sort of threat to our country. If a person says that this is a Muslim ban, then we must follow their logic and say that this is also a human being ban. All of the people banned are human beings, but have you ever thought that this was a human ban? Probably not. To clarify, we affirm that the executive order is fair due to the fact that terrorists either dominate the 7 countries of Iraq, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. The government is unstable and weak, or the country is hostile and does not cooperate with us. It is the president's job to protect the people of our nation and keep our values. Even if we don't appreciate it, it's for our own good, and we must acknowledge that. And before you say that this is violating human rights or is not fixing anything, think about all of those lives that we could have saved. But we didn't. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. Now moving over to Laura, speaker 1 for the negative team.
Syria, Iran, Yemen, Libya, Somalia, and Sudan. Immigrants from these 6 countries are banned from getting into the United States for at least 90 days. They are prevented into getting a new life and new opportunities. Our country was named a melting pot, or salad bowl, with all different religions and races, all shapes and sizes. But now we are banning these 6 countries because of potential terrorists. Now our country has fallen into a debate in choosing either side, with anger and protests and reasoning. But how would you feel as a refugee if you had to flee your country and escape only to be sent back for another 90 days? How could you survive? How could you save your loved ones, friends, and family? With no visa or green card, how would you feel? Sad, mad, upset, disgraced? Try to put your feet in their shoes. They are in danger. They are afraid. They are hoping that each day is not their last. Hoping to get into America. Hope is their last chance. But what if you could change that and help protest against this unreasonable travel ban? Help get this executive order outlawed. If the travel ban is supposed to protect us from terrorists, then why isn't Saudi Arabia and Pakistan banned? Almost all of the 9/11 terrorists were from Saudi Arabia. In my opinion, I think that the travel ban is unconstitutional and unfair. How would you feel if you were banned from something? Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Now moving on to our opt-up statement from the affirmative team. This is Rebecca Sun.
Our opponents may argue that this ban denies American rights and liberty, but are we going to jeopardize so many American lives and be blinded from the more important issue our country faces? Our opposition may propose that many lives and families could be eradicated, but think of how many more lives could be at stake if a terrorist were to enter our country. And to our opposition, correct, we do concur that rights have been ruined for many people. However, America, like many other countries, has faced roadblocks that have deprived Americans of rights. We can understand why Americans are upset about this prescription that Donald Trump has placed into action. For example, in the past, we have segregated men from women. Has this benefited the whole country? No. We have segregated African Americans from Caucasians. Has this benefited the whole country? No. So this ban supplementally does deprive rights for a number of people. We do admit to this. However, this is benefiting the whole country holistically. So many Americans have been blinded by the past rights deprivation, and that has not benefited the whole country. But this time, think about the number of lives we could preserve, how many families and relationships we could salvage. Just one or two people could enter the United States and take hundreds or thousands or even more preponderant numbers of innocent lives. What will our values mean then? At this moment, why don't we contemplate how these values, though most of the time are good, will visually impair us to the perils that face the lives of Americans? Although the media claims that the absence of Saudi Arabia on the Trump ban list is due to the fact that Trump has business in Saudi Arabia, this is all absolutely false. One of the clearest reasons why the country is not on the list follows. While Trump registered 4 companies in Delaware that included Saudi Arabia, those companies were closed immediately following the election, and he has no businesses currently registered in Saudi Arabia itself. Not only this, Saudi Arabia is not and has never been considered by the State Department to be a sponsor of terrorism. Also, according to CipherBrief.com, in an article written by Thomas Lippman, a journalist and author specializing in the Middle East and Saudi Arabia and United States relations, published on June 9, 2016, that Saudi Arabia is also not a failed state like the others on the list. It does not endure internal and external conflict, and it has a stable and functioning government. Overall, Saudi Arabia is, according to Lippman, the most stable country in the Middle East. So how is this significant? Countries in chaos or which lack any security relationship with the U.S. are the likeliest destinations for ISIS roots, Joseph Umar said. Adding up to 4, according to Newsmax.com, in an article written by Ali Shahabi on Friday, February 10, 2017, at 9:36 a.m., in a lengthy discussion over a phone call between Trump and Saudi Arabia's king, the two leaders discussed how Osama bin Laden, who was the founder of Al-Qaeda's goals, was to destroy the once sturdy relationship the U.S. and Saudi Arabia have had for approximately 70 years. Although Egypt is known to have a large Muslim donor, Sisi, the president of Egypt, is sincere in his campaign to destroy them. Sisi has also had a close working relationship with Israel. While Saudi Arabia produced most of the hijackers of the September 11th attacks, the new king and his administration are known reformers and have pushed to loosen up the network. Wahhabi institutions. Is it perfect? No, not at all. But both countries' willingness to reform and crack down should not be minimized at this point. Additionally, opposition may state that no terrorists have originated from any of the 7 countries specified in the ban. Although this is true, Donald Trump believes that these 7 countries are not a danger to us. Also, the affirmative side may supplementally state that Donald Trump is basically placing a ban on all Muslims. However, this executive order is more of an extreme vetting, which designates that we are investigating and defending our country from extremity. We're not supposed to take the risk of ignoring these hazards and bringing upon more harm to our country. The significant increase in terrorist activity has meant that its ramifications are being felt more widely throughout the world, said Steve Pelagia, executive chairman of the IEP. By placing the travel ban, we can at least prevent some terrorism from the United States. Also, an article called Don't Hide from the Reality of How Terrorism Affects the Economy from Investopedia, written by Elvis Ricardo on March 24, 2016 at 1 p.m. The terrorist attacks in Brussels on March 22, 2016 are the latest in a string of horrific assaults that seem to be occurring with greater frequency. A few months later, multiple attacks from Paris on November 13, 2015 have claimed 130 lives, making it the worst terrorist attack in Europe in a decade. Our opponents may say that we should consider these other countries more. However, how can we protect and help these other countries if we are not in a good condition ourselves? Think of it like this. How can one have both of their legs broken yet help their acquaintances be carried? It's not possible. The United States is practicing this fashion just as one carries his fellow acquaintances with 2 broken legs. The U.S. has had a poor foundation with so many so-called refugees entering the country. Our opponents also may claim that Muslims deserve to be treated equally and this ban should deprive them of rights. However, our team stands by the fact that this ban isn't a Muslim ban at all. Like we said before, it's just filtering these people and deciding who's a terrorist or not. Donald Trump is banning travel from hazardous countries regardless of the Muslim population. With all, our opponents may claim that Trump is not banning certain countries because he does business there. Trump did leave out certain countries because he believes that they do propose contracts, and like we said before, Saudi Arabia, which many people believe should be on the list, he does not have business there. In addition, Trump banned all countries from Barack Obama's list of perilous terrorist nations. Our opponents may argue that the 7 countries that are on the list of prescribed countries have not caused any harm to the United States of America. However, according to all the following information from Fox 6 Now, Sudan was a base for Al-Qaeda in the 1990s when Osama bin Laden lived there and has always been designated a state of sponsored terrorism in the U.S. for more than 20 years. But nowadays, the Sudanese regime, while still embracing conservative Islam, tries to combat jihadist groups, Syria. ISIS was able to infiltrate operatives into Europe, hiding them among a flood of refugees so they could carry out deadly terrorist attacks. The U.S. is harder to enter because of its security measures, but if we loosen these security measures, the Syrian refugee terrorists could also bring harm to America.
20 seconds.
The U.S. says that Iran remains the leading state sponsor of terrorism through its support for the Lebanese militia, Hezbollah, Palestinian terrorist groups in Gaza, and various groups in Iraq and throughout the Middle East. ISIS has a substantial presence in Iraq and has pledged to take its fight to Western Europe and the United States, especially as its core territory shrinks. Not only this, Al-Qaeda is strong in Yemen and has Thank you.
We now need to hear the counter ACCEPT argument from the negative team.
Jeffrey, Julie, and Rebecca may argue that the travel ban bans the right people to pose a threat to the United States, and that the travel ban will protect America and keep it safe from terrorism. They may say that the 6 banned countries will actually attack the United States before, and Donald Trump has made the right decision to create
However, let's listen to this. According to the Washington Post, there is an article titled, "Trump's new travel ban still won't keep out terrorists from other countries responsible for deadly terrorist attacks," by Mark Berman on March 6, which states that there have been 10 fatal attacks tied to Islamic idea or otherwise deemed international terrorism since 2001, and the people behind those attacks are from none of the banned countries. Also, the most U.S. attacking countries are Saudi Arabia with 15 attacks, Egypt with 2 attacks, Kyrgyzstan with 2 attacks, and Pakistan with 1 attack. And these countries aren't even on the travel list. After this, my opponents may argue that even if those countries haven't attacked it, they might do it in the future. But let me ask you this, how do you know that? You're not time travelers, so you can't look into the future. In addition, my opponents may say that the travel ban prevents foreigners from bringing in deadly diseases. But according to an article on PolitiFact, experts say that that is not the case. In an article titled, "Are illegal immigrants bringing in tremendous diseases across the border, as Trump says? Unlikely," by Louis Jacobson on Thursday, July 25th at 12:53 p.m. They were introduced by Disease Control and the Department of Health and Human Services, and they said there have not been many serious victims throughout the border. Also, border officials are familiar with the common diseases from other countries, and they are well aware of the threat and are on the lookout. PolitiFact also contacted Mark Ward of Texas Children's Hospital, who said that children and adults can both get everyday illnesses on the right to America. Experts agreed that there is no evidence of a massive breakthrough of infections across the border. Finally, the affirmative team may contend that the travel ban can help the economy. They may say that because we don't have to take refugees and immigrants anymore, the economy will improve. Foreigners won't be taking all the government's money, and it could be used for something else. However, did my opponent ever consider that immigrants and refugees are actually helpful to the economy? In an opposing viewpoints and context article titled, "Unauthorized Immigrants Would Benefit the U.S. Economy," which was written in 2016, had information by Marshall Fitz, Director of Immigration Policy, Philip E. Walden, an immigration policy analyst, and Patrick Oakford, a research assistant at the Center of American Progress. They stated that, despite reports to the contrary, immigrants are a net positive for the economy and tap more into the system than they take out. Such economic contributions will keep Social Security solvent. Studies show that immigrants are a drain on the economy, contain faulty research methods. This information is supported by a professor at UCLA. Feel free to ask us questions. Thank you for listening to our opposition and supposition combination. I wish the affirmative team good luck.
Thank you very much. We are now going to move directly into our crossfire round. Again, I foresee that this will be quite exciting between these two teams. Our affirmative team will shoot first, and then the exchange will continue for 15 minutes. And your time begins now.
Okay, so my opponent said that we have to try to put our feet in the refugee's shoes. However, we are asking you to put your feet in the shoes of the president. You can imagine this in a stressed state. If you had to choose in between protecting your family or another family, then which one would you choose? Obviously, your family because it's your own. So if we place our feet in the shoes of the president, we would understand more how we want to have this put into things.
And you also said that how would you feel if you were a refugee or an immigrant who was banned? Well, how would you feel if your daughter, your son, your mom, or your dad, or any other family member was killed by a terrorist at Pakistan?
Well, so far, no terrorists have been. There have been no terrorist attacks that have killed Americans so far from the side of countries. But how does that relate to putting your feet in the shoes of the president?
I don't know, Jennifer said that how would you feel if your mom, dad, or siblings were killed from terrorist attacks? Well, there haven't been terrorist attacks that have been killed.
But we don't know if they will come.
You said put your feet in the president's shoe. So if you're Donald Trump, you really want your business to thrive, so you don't ban the other countries. So that is why Donald Trump didn't ban Saudi Arabia and all the other countries because they support his business.
But he banned the countries that were on Obama's previous list.
That doesn't necessarily mean Obama was correct either.
But we're talking about Trump's travel ban right now. And so you guys are claiming that by Trump's opposition to all these people, then he's just being racist and taking out the rights.
But Obama is related to the travel ban because in the first part, he created the travel ban outline and he gave Donald Trump the basic outline for his travel ban.
No, Obama just listed dangerous countries, not the idea of a travel ban.
But that did help Donald Trump get the idea and the countries.
Bringing up a previous point, you guys said that we can't predict whether or not they'll attack us. We know for a fact that they would attack other countries. We did not get to bring this up because we went over our time limit. However, during the Manchester attacks that was very recent, the person accused of doing the attack went to Syria in the previous few days and came back, which means if we had a travel ban in place, and instead this person went to the United States, we could have prevented this issue entirely.
So that attack was in Manchester, which is in England, and the person that attacked the place might have had something against England, they might have had something against Ariana Grande, they might have had something against people in England.
But because the U.S. has such security measures, that's why they weren't able. But we don't know if these terrorists are trying to get into our country.
And also, many people it's predicted that there's 1 in 3.6 billion chances of a large-scale terrorist attack in the U.S. And the chances of being struck by lightning twice is 1 in 9 billion.
But there still is a chance. So we can't just ignore that small chance.
But then what about all the other people who are prevented from coming to the U.S.?
But like I said before, if you were family, or if you had a family and another person had a family, would you choose to save your family first or the other?
And also, since the risk of getting struck by lightning is so much higher than terrorism, should we create some anti-lightning striking maneuvers or something like that?
And you said that immigrants might actually be helpful for an economy. But as you said before, you can't look into the future because you can't time travel. So how do you know that they're going to help?
And also, if they're refugees who are war-torn, it will take too many resources and too much time to educate them to help our country. So how do you know if they're willing to help?
Also, if they bring a bomb and blow something else out, damage our economy too.
They could kill workers, they could damage buildings, all that builds up to the heat.
But what would they do if they came to our country and had to go back? But in their country, they technically, when they go back, they're in danger. There's wars and everything going on, so how would they be able to go back?
Well, we have to consider our country too. We don't know if they're gonna come to our country either, so we're not sure if we do loosen our security measures and someone comes in, they could kill people too.
If you really want to save your country, then why don't you ban the countries that actually pose a threat to the United States?
Then could you name an example of a country that poses a threat to the United States?
Like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan.
So the thing is, these countries, although they have attacked, they now at the same time have a stable government, so they're less likely. And as you said, we can't predict the future, so we can't predict whether or not they'll do an attack. But right now, because they have a stable economy and government,
So, according, like I said before, according to Joseph Hummeyer, countries which are in chaos or which lack a security relationship with the U.S., who don't have a stable government, who don't have a stable country themselves, they're easy targets for this.
And Saudi Arabia does have a very stable government as well as other countries.
Both governments have like goals to crack down on terrorism, so it's going to be decreasing at the same time.
So if you said that we can't predict the future, so you don't know if the countries that attacked before are going to attack now, but then you still can't predict the future. So then how would you know if the countries that was banned are going to attack?
Could you repeat that?
Basically, you ban the countries that have attacked before are not banned, but the countries that have never attacked before are not banned. But how do you know if they're gonna do it in the future?
You just said that countries that have never attacked before are not. So, you just
And also there has been at least one attack from a Somali refugee in 2016.
Can you name that attack?
Abdul Razak Ali Arden, an ISIS-inspired 20-year-old Somali refugee who had been granted permanent legal residence in 2014, attempted to run over his fellow Ohio students on campus. And he injured 11 people and one critically.
and then he tried to swing at people with flashbangs.
Well, you're saying that he was granted a legal permanent for a green card resident in the United States. But then why would you prevent him from coming prevent an immigrant from coming to the United States when they're already a legal resident? Then according to View America, a same claim for private information on terrorist activity in the United States that 9/11, 94 people have been killed by in the past 15 years. And then in this overview of Florida individuals committing the attack, View America says the majority of attackers come from within. He said that far from being foreign incinerators, the large majority of the targeted terrorists in the United States have been American citizens or legal residents. Moreover, while a range of citizen statuses are presented, every virus who conducted an extraterritorial attack inside the United States has signed that no citizen were legal resident.
Okay, number one, he was a Somali refugee, so he wasn't a regular citizen, he was a refugee from Somalia. Number two, by banning these possible threats that are from these seven, now 6 countries, we are basically reducing the risk of terrorism. And later, because we might have enough time, so we can later use our resources to find other ways to reduce terrorism.
Yeah, so we can focus on our internal security now.
Is there any evidence that you have already focused on your internal security yet?
That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to first block our evidence that we're already trying to reduce the threats of terrorism is the ban. Now we can start to focus on. We haven't already focused on internal terrorism. Now we can start to focus.
And we agree that there is a problem, but right now we don't have a solution, so we have to stop the problem from happening.
Well, the question is the travel ban fair, and why don't you ban the countries that have attacked on the U.S. and make it more fair than?
So are you saying we should?
What I'm saying is that the travel ban is not fair, and instead of just banning those countries, you should start banning countries that have actually attacked the U.S.
Maybe we can do that in the future, but this is a starting point for us right now. We can learn from what we do right now and then apply it to other countries, in this case Saudi Arabia, as you guys said, or other countries like Egypt.
So why would you want to do that?
You guys stated yourself that we should ban Saudi Arabia and things like that too.
Then why haven't you done it already? Because that could also decrease the rate of terrorism.
Because currently, we know countries like Syria and Sudan and other countries from these nations are attacking foreign nations. This could easily happen to us. It's just happening to other countries at the moment. They could easily do this right now.
Also, like you said before, Saudi Arabia is a stable country, and the point of one of the goals that Osama bin Laden had was to weaken the relationship between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia that they have had for over 7 years.
And we have the same goal. We're trying to stop terrorism. So why should we stop people from Saudi Arabia come over? That's just backstabbing our allies.
Well, having to the 2,369 murders that have occurred as a result of someone from Saudi Arabia coming over.
Well, we can't just ban a country for its crimes in the past. Like, we're not going to ban Germany for starting World War II.
Also, Donald Trump has some intelligence that we do not know if it might be classified, and that might also prove his reason behind the ban of these 7 countries.
You have proof that they're classified information.
Exactly, we don't have proof because it's classified.
You're talking about the 7 countries, but you're talking about only 6.
But it's still a travel ban. It's not like we got rid of it.
Then, what would happen to the people in the 7 countries that are innocent and have nowhere to go?
And what about if we let all of them come in and loosen our security measures? Then what about all of those innocent American lives that will be lost?
We never said to loosen our security measures. It's just you can still let them in and see what.
But wouldn't the ban itself be, if we remove the ban itself, would we still be loosening our security measures? If the terrorists see that, oh, we're letting all these people in, they could easily take advantage of that and have bombs.
Also, I'm sure France has a strong security, yet they've been attacked so many times. So they don't have a ban, but they've been attacked so much. The prospect of the ban itself is enough deterrent to keep these terrorists out.
However, the people from the 7/6 countries coming here, they still have security from the airport security that is extremely strict. The the United States and Israel have 2 of the best aviation security operations in the world, said Blue, who is the Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University's chief academic officer and director of terrorism, intelligence, and security studies. Quote, unquote. They engage in intelligence gathering operations and identify people who are a threat way before they get anywhere near the airport. The farther away you handle it, neutralizing the better off.
Okay, but these people are war-torn refugees. We may not have access to their files or background checks because they're not a quality life country, so we don't have access to everything about their life.
Also, security measures are actually done in the home country. You don't get really checked for security after you get into the US. That's the job of the nation that you're coming from. You guys are talking about the US has really good security, but that's only for outgoing. When we're getting incoming, there's no as such security.
And you said that there is very strict security checks. And what about the example that you made before? That was a Somali refugee, but he still attacked and was still a terrorist.
That was because he was a legal permanent resident.
But he still was a refugee. still a refugee?
He was a refugee from Somalia that came here to get permanent legal residence.
He wasn't born in America.
Time. Please, let's give both teams a round of applause. There we go. All right, teams, excellent job, but your job is not over. It's not over. It is now time for the judges to have some fun and get into the fray with you. So we're going to start with Mr. Brett Givens at the far end, who will choose which side he wants to pose his curveball question to. Please stand and respond when you are called upon. Thank you.
My question is for the affirmative team. Do you believe the strategy of making citizens fearful of Middle Eastern immigration, is that healthy for the citizens of the United States? Your opinion.
Well, most citizens of the United States are already fearful of the Middle East, and that's why the travel ban was implemented in the first place.
Can you further justify your answer?
By implementing the travel ban, then the people will feel more safe from the Middle East. That's all.
Well, I guess what I'm asking, do you have facts to base that answer in, or is that speculation?
Speculation.
Thank you.
My question is for the affirmative as well. You made a statement in the beginning, citing 9/11 as one of the terrorist attacks, or citing 9/11 as a reason that the travel ban should be put in place. Then you further went on to say you cannot ban countries based on the past. Can you find what ground would give us to place a travel ban? What kind of ground would you give us that would warrant a travel ban?
Well, like if they're currently with terrorism and they're currently very dangerous. Like Saudi Arabia right now, they're already cracking down on terrorism and everything.
So within Donald Trump's 2 weeks of being in office, he signed an executive order. So what current thing happened to warrant him banning those 7 countries?
The current attacks like all over the world and the civil war going on over
Name.
there. Like the attacks in France and Britain.
Thank you.
Okay, my question is for the negative team, the against. How has adopting the travel ban affected the economy and public services, such as education and healthcare?
Well, there's have been like a lot of protests, and it kind of has been like disrupting a lot of places, like the airports and the White House.
My question is for the affirmative side. Earlier, you stated that Donald Trump was trying to protect his family. And as the president of the United States, aren't you supposed to protect the families of your country? So how will the travel ban protect the families who have members overseas or who are traveling overseas?
Well, like first he has to focus on us because he has a duty to protect the citizens of America first.
My question is for the affirmative team. I'm sort of going to echo what the previous one mentioned about the fearful attitudes that can be adopted from the quote-unquote Muslim ban, even though he said that Trump, it's not a Muslim ban, but it's widely known as a Muslim ban. So do you think that it's fair for people who are not terrorists to be subject to the fearful and aggressive nature of Islamophobic people?
Okay, is overall twice as many Americans say the Israeli government has too much influence on U.S. politics than say too little influence, while plurality says it's the right level. The story is more pronounced in partisan views. Among Democrats, about half, 49%, say Israel has too much influence compared to 13% who said Israel has too little influence, and 35% who said
Thank you.
Judges, thank you. Teams, thank you. We are now on to the final leg of this race. Huge deciding factor on how you will sway the judges in your favor. We are going to now go over to the affirmative team who will render their closing proposition. Jerry Shen.
Consequently, we stand by our president's decision to ban travel from the 7 countries, including Iraq, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. We affirm that if we remove the ban, we can expose our citizens to the peril of terrorism that may pose harm to this country. Lives will be lost and families will become hurt. Neighborhoods and stores that stand now could be ruined in just a few weeks. Although no attacks from the 7 countries have succeeded, people from these countries are still hazardous and pose a danger to the U.S. According to Vice News and an article written by Abby Shapiro on November 17, 2015, damages, and due to terrorism have never been higher, stated that 32,658 people were killed by terrorism in 2014, compared to the only 18,111 in 2000. The estimated cost of the devastation, $52.9 billion, a tenfold increase over the past decade. Almost nobody was expecting the attacks of 9/11, and it's still happening. We also reiterate that this is not a Muslim ban. There are many other Muslim countries that are not on the ban. This is due to the fact that these countries are dangerous, not because they are Muslim. It just so happens that they are majority. Opposition states that we have to look at these refugees and immigrants from their perspective. However, we must first think about our own nation before thinking about them. They also say that the United States is a melting pot of cultures and we need them. However, we want to ban terrorism and our values are more important than what we look like. It is important to remember that our American values will be tarnished if we fail to keep our country safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Now moving over to the negative team, Ms. Kay Yuen, who will deliver the proposition for the negative.
For this reason, I strongly contend that the tribal ban is not fair. The tribal ban is unconstitutional because it targets a specific religion or race. And in this case, the Muslims. According to many reliable sources, they all agree that there have been 0 murders committed by immigrants from the 7 countries that comes to tribal ban. There's also 1 in 3.6 billion chance of a large-scale terrorist attack happening in the U.S. Also, the U.S. Immigration Nationality Act of 1965 allows people to come into the U.S. based on their individual skills and family relationships with citizens or residents of the U.S. If you ban all of them, how can they come in? Isn't that contradicting another act? In addition, the U.S. Supreme Court has now recognized that a seemingly neutral regulation qualifies as unconstitutional discrimination if the true purpose behind it is to target a specific race, or religious group. And this indeed targets the religious group, the Muslims. Mr. Trump's campaign site has an active link to a statement titled Donald J. Trump Statement on Preventing Muslim Immigration, which is needed immediately after a reporter attending the White House daily press briefing asked the White House seems Spicer. Why does the president's website still call for preventing Muslims immigration? This is unconstitutional because they explicitly say that this is a Muslim ban. Many come here for opportunities, better education, or just to escape terrorists of the country they came from. This means thousands of people who have never committed a crime in their life from coming into the U.S. You say that lives are lost and families are ruined, but what about the lives and families of the people who are just trying to escape war from the Middle East? Isn't America a land of opportunity? What is the purpose of the Statue of Liberty? Isn't it to welcome immigrants from foreign lands to America? That was what the Statue of Liberty was built for. The immigrants are the people who make up America. The travel ban just defeats the whole purpose. Just saying, would America still be America without the immigrants?
Thank you so much, Katie. This concludes our final matchup for today's tournament. Please give our teams a round of applause. Very well done. Very well done, young people. We are now going to allow our judges the opportunity to retreat to their sequestered area to make their final deliberations. And then not only will we announce the victor of this matchup, but we will also announce the two top scoring teams from the 6 who you've seen compete on today. So judges, you are free to go. Parents, while the judges are departing to do their final tallies and calculations, I am going to give the certificates of participation. I have to say that I can always count on these particular classes here. These are my Friday classes to fight with a vengeance. They are quite fierce, and I want to say in terms of debate, they are bloodthirsty in many ways when they come into a forum like this. So congratulations to all of you, no matter how things fall out today. I want you guys to know, and I say this, and I know it sounds cliche, but you truly are victorious no matter how this goes. You guys have done an extraordinary job on today. And now I would like to present to all of you your certificates of participation. We are going to begin with Miss Eileen Yang, the negative team. Here you are. I think somebody was taking a picture. Okay. And Laura. Laura Tokunoki. I'm not saying that right. Can you take the last name for me? Jablanover. Oh my goodness, I butchered that the whole time. Laura Jablanover. Thank you so much, Emily. Excellent. And now, in her absence, we do want to announce Elizabeth Fu, who is also a part of that team. Elizabeth Fu. We have twins who are on that team, Lucas and Clayvon Zhu, who are not with us today, but we want to acknowledge them as well. And now we can have Miss Claire Chen, please come to accept her certificate. Well earned, well deserved on today. There you are, young lady. If I can shake your hand on a job very well done, very proud of you. Valerie Wayne, not here today, but in her absence, we can applaud Valerie Wayne, who's also a member of their team. Christina Cow, who's also a member of your team. We want to acknowledge Christina, an alternate who is not present today. And of course, last but certainly not least, let's give a warm round of applause to Miss Katie Yuen for her participation today. Katie, very proud of you. Very well done. And now for our affirmative team to please collect their certificates of participation. Mr. Jerry Shin. Yes, extraordinary job, young man. Always. I would also, in his absence, like to acknowledge a very hardworking alternate, Daniel Yang, everyone. Daniel Yang. Another of the affirmative team alternates, Rachel Wang. I want to acknowledge Rachel. And now if I could please ask Miss Rebecca Sun to fought the good fight on today. So poised, so well spoken, so passionate. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. In her absence, one of their other team's alternates, Eileen. Mr. Jeffrey Chen. Glad to see you on the stage, sir. You can please come and collect your award. Great job, sir. Let me shake that hand. All right, thank you. Now, what's interesting is that you have a team over there where all of you were in the Grand Championship, is that correct? All four of you? Were you in the Grand Championship in the fall? Were you an alternate on one of the teams in the fall? Yes, you were. Okay, so this is a strong team. I'm about to bring up Jennifer Lynn because the last time Jennifer was on the opposing team in the last Grand Championship in the fall. This time, she's traded places. So, good job, Jennifer. Let me shake that hand, young lady. Very well done. Very proud of you. And in her absence, Miss Stephanie Moe. Miss Stephanie Moe. You all should be extremely proud. So as I said, once the judges return from their deliberation, I will of course present them with their certificates. Very grateful to have such an esteemed body of judges. It is tough to find judges for a competition, let alone find judges that truly like this kind of stuff, who are as passionate about debate and oratory as I am. So I'm just grateful that they accepted the charge and the challenge to be with us today. So they'll receive their awards first when they return. Then we will go right to it. We'll announce the winners for matchup 3, and then finally the 2 top scoring teams of the 6. At this time, you have about 3 minutes to stretch your legs, get water, use the restroom. Meet me right back here in 3 minutes. Thank you.